In terms of the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, I didn't really grow up with the 2D games. I grew up with Sonic Adventure 2 and Sonic Heroes. My introduction to the sprite work was Flash games and Sonic Scene Creator on websites like dandare.org and Newgrounds. In grade 3, my best friend was my gateway to the 2D titles. He introduced me to the Sonic Mega Collection on GameCube. He had the Sonic Advance series and Genesis re-release on Game Boy Advance. He'd share them with me, but the real gamer hours began when we'd play the Sonic Mega Collection. We'd play through Sonic 1, taking turns, but it made more sense to play Sonic 2 because someone could play as Tails. I was always player 1. The issue was, we weren't that great. You lose and you start the entire game over. Half the time, we couldn't even beat Chemical Plant. People love Sonic 2. But not me. Sure, it may have been the first introduction to Player 2, special stages as would be adopted by many future titles, and of course the Spin Dash. But truthfully, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 would up the ante further to what I believe is its peak. Now, unfortunately, as is with most Sonic games, Sonic 3 was rushed and split in half. So let's start with the first half. One of my favorite games of all time, Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Now, with 6 stages, that's less than Sonic 1 and 2's, not combined, it can be easily said, oh, Sonic 3 doesn't have as much content as Sonic 1 or 2, therefore it's not as good. But I have to disagree, especially when half of Sonic 2's stages fucking suck. But I'm getting off track. This isn't a Sonic 2 hate train, this is a Sonic 3 love raid. Now, as I mentioned prior, I was not good at this game as a kid. I would always get stuck at Marble Garden Zone. Still, probably the farthest out of any of the classic titles as I could get, but even with game overs, death after death, I didn't get super annoyed because this game had something above both of its predecessors. Save files, which is very good for accessibility and makes it so the game doesn't age like milk. The game doesn't just start you off on a level, there's context now. Beginning directly after the events of Sonic 2's ending, Super Sonic and Tails are flying in the tornado across the ocean where they make a pit stop at a new place called Angel Island. When all of a sudden, he gets smoked by a
Yeah, B-boy, that's just not the word, you heard?
Nigga?
Yeah, for real, niggas!
He's Knuckles, the protector of the Master Emerald, deceived by Dr. Robotnik to fuck with Sonic and Tails and halt their every move so he can rebuild the Death Egg. In the first 2 titles, it's implied that Robotnik is ruining the world by roboticizing animals and trying to make the Eggman Empire. But you don't really see that until the last few levels of Sonic 1 and 2. Sonic 3 changes this entirely by having you fight a mini-boss halfway through each zone, usually changing the level in some way. You also get stopped by Knuckles periodically, and he traps you and laughs at you, or sends you to your death. And in a couple of sprites, the game conveys a lot more emotion than the other games did in their entirety. Similar to the last few games, Sonic 3's level design is packed with secrets and different passageways that you can go to get a faster time. Certain games that I very greatly dislike, like Sonic Forces, have you going one pathway and there's not really much to do and the feeling just isn't there. But I find with Sonic 3's level design, even if it has you funneled one way, it's more streamlining a radical experience with high octane action and music that gets your blood pumping. Stages have separate paths and offer a lot of verticality, and sometimes change as you traverse them. Angel Island has you hopping on logs and rocks, making your way up a waterfall, with secret paths depending on which character you play as. This robot that we can assume is Robotnik's burns the island down. Robotnik bombs the jungle, and the bridge is destroyed by Knuckles. And you fall down to the Neo-Atlantis stage, Hydrocity Zone. And these contextual connections run throughout the entire game. You shoot out from the water chasms to Marble Garden. You fly through the sky of Marble Garden with Tails till you end up in Carnival Night Zone. A cannon then blasts you to Ice Cap Zone, and the snow is an environmental transition to Launch Base Zone. Stages are also built to be explored. If you run into a dead end or you notice an oddly large wall, you usually want to try running into it. It's always best to investigate. This will lead you to a special stage ring. Special stages in Sonic 3 are my favorite in the entire franchise. Enter Blue Spheres. You should have called that shit Blue Balls. Haha. Alright, shut the fuck up. Get back to talking. You go through the 3D-esque levels as Sonic, the first 3D in the franchise, and they're just addictive, tricky, and trippy. Very trippy. Your task is to collect the blue spheres. Get enough, and you will find a Chaos Emerald. If you go into a loop of 9 spheres or more, and you can go along the edges, you end up turning them all into rings. Then you can collect the rings and you gain enough and you can get a new life or a couple of continues. And of course, if you touch a red one, you die. The music is fun, but sometimes the floor checkered pattern can really fuck up my vision and is a little too trippy, especially once it gets to the higher speeds. But I still find a good sense of challenge all the way around. It's fun, and there's no relying on Tails' bullshit AI like in Sonic 2's special stages, so that's also a win. This, at the time, was peak special stage for the Sonic franchise, and I still think it's top 3, only running up against Sonic Rush and Sonic Mania's special stages. Now, of course, we need to remind ourselves, everything that I've been yapping about is only the first half of the whole picture. While Sonic 3 was released in early 1994, the second half wouldn't be released until 8.5 months later with the release of Sonic and Knuckles. What a sexy little logo. Now, this title holds one of the coolest gimmicks in all of gaming history. Enter lock-on technology. Shit, I need me a shotty with some lock-on technology. Gripper! Anyway, before getting into it though, let's take a step back and address the Death Egg-sized elephant in the room. It's no secret that these two were released as separate games. They were, to an extent, marketed as separate games. But with time constraints and cartridge space becoming a bigger issue because the game was so goddamn massive, the game's full intent was a full release. Thus, Sonic 3 and Knuckles. But still, I have to address it. It was split in half. The first half being the opening, and even with just those 6 stages, I still believe it's peak. The songs are banging, the game is fun as fuck, and save points make it a breeze to come back, collect all the Chaos Emeralds, and play through again. The overall presentation and sound design was a cut above the rest, even CD. And I didn't even mention the elemental shields. Fire gives you a homing attack that burns things that are combustible. Water gives you a bounce ability that also lets you breathe underwater, and electricity lets you survive any sort of electric attacks while also attracting rings, something that would become a staple in future games going forward. But of course, that brings us to the second half of the game. Sonic and Knuckles, the relaunch, again, of the Death Egg. Sonic and Knuckles on its own has a couple of glaring issues that make it hard to go back on its own. Sonic and Knuckles drops save files, the ability to play as Tails, and has you playing as one of the 2 titular characters, Sonic and Knuckles. The game carries over the entire sprite work and core gameplay, while having some slight audio alterations, because of a whole different thing that was happening at the time concerning a certain pop star, but we won't get too into that. Don't want to get too political, ooh. This side of the story contains more levels, including Mushroom Hill, Flying Battery, Sandopolis, Lava Reef, Hidden Palace, Sky Sanctuary, Death Egg, and the epic finale, the Doomsday Zone. Sonic 3 and Knuckles is the whole package though. If you were, like me, playing Sonic 3 without the lock-on gimmick, you probably went back and played through the levels and got all the Chaos Emeralds. With just Sonic 3 alone, once you get those, you can turn into Super Sonic and blast through stages. But when using lock-on technology, it adds a new MacGuffin to the fold, Super Emeralds. When adding the And Knuckles expansion, you actually lose the ability to play as Super Sonic. And this is because you gain access to 7 new special stages. A series of challenges before unlocking Sonic's true final form, Hyper Sonic. From Mushroom Hill onwards, the special stage rings that you would normally jump into turn into colored special stage rings. Hop in, and they send you to a mysterious new area with 7 lifeless stones that can only be revived by the power of the most labyrinthian blue sphere puzzles. Once collected, Hypersonic shines like a rainbow, can breathe underwater, and has a multi-directional double jump. And he's fast as fuck! The last third of the game finds you in the final 5 or so stages. After making it through the pyramids of Sandopolis, Sonic and Tails end up in Lava Reef Zone, still being destroyed by more of Robotnik's robots. Tunneling through the caves of Lava Reef leads Sonic and Tails to another altercation with the misguided Knuckles. He throws a whole ass boulder at the duo, which sends them near to the relaunch of the Death Egg. Through environmental storytelling, ooh. Robotnik eats his own shit, and Sonic and Tails reach the Hidden Palace Zone, the same area you warp to revive the Super Emeralds. Shit's crazy. With hieroglyphs that totally aren't alluding to the fight ahead, you're challenged by Knuckles one final time. He gets dropped on his ass, and a commotion gains his attention. It's Robotnik, who had tricked Knuckles the entire time. stealing the Master Emerald. Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails give chase. Using a warp elevator to the Sky Sanctuary, the duo turn Trio's last chance to stop Robotnik's launch of the Death Egg. Knuckles falls behind as he's taken pretty crucial damage from Robotnik's tasers. Sonic and Tails gets close, but one more challenge stays in their way. Mecha Sonic Mark II. The, at the time, most powerful and intimidating of the robot Sonic lookalikes gets dummied pretty quick, and it's off to the Death Egg. After each act's nail-biting mini-bosses, Sonic has finally made it to the final gauntlet. Once the Death Ball is defeated, Robotnik is left with no choice, and whips out the big guns. Robotnik chases Sonic and Tails down with the giant Eggman Robo. As per usual though, it gets taken down. Sonic and Tails chase down the Doctor, forcing him to finally drop the Master Emerald. Now, if you only got a few Chaos Emeralds, this is where the story ends. But this game has more ending variations than I can count on my hands. If you did end up nabbing the Chaos or Super Emeralds, you gain access to the grand finale of the Sonic trilogy, the Doomsday Zone. An exclusive final battle that has Supersonic or Hypersonic blasting through space, catching up to Eggman to stop him from keeping the Master Emerald for himself. It's a grand epic, and a huge step up from the basic stills or splash screens that you would get at the end of Sonic 1 and 2. Now, this game may not be cinema in the same way that I looked at Super Metroid, but I think for what it did at the time, and how much of a step up it was for platformers and environmental storytelling, the step up from Sonic 1 in 3 short years, if things had ended differently, it would have been the perfect send-off to a platforming legend. But that's not where things ended. And some legends never die. And with that... shit, man. Call me Knuckles because I am chuckling right now. And I like fisting. Jesus Christ, bro. What is it now? Shit, man, you really think you can finish early? God, I would hate to be your partner in bed. Holy fuck, dude. Can you stop roasting me for like 5 seconds? We've been going at this for 9 days, dude. I'm tired. All right, hear me out. Here's a riddle, all right? What bangs? And I ain't talking about me. Rouge the Bat. Shit, I mean, you're not wrong. But I was talking about the fucking music, man. Get your mind out of the gutter. Oh. My bad. In terms of the general menu music, this shit's pretty boppin'. The title screen is a triumphant, exciting stinger, leading you to the grand epic that will be the finale of the trilogy. The save file select almost prepares you for the tropical island vibes that you're gonna get starting off, with a really endearing island calypso rhythm that just feels cozy. And that's not my Caribbean lineage just speaking out there. Angel Island Zone gets things bumping right off rip. The fun trills of what can only be described as a Genesis sound font pan or xylophone, marimba, whatever you want to say, just keeps a solid pace without feeling too stressful. It feels welcoming and engaging. After the island burns down in Act 2, the rhythm gets a little bit faster, sort of matching the feelings of warmth and blazing fire that surrounds you as you travel through the level. Hydrocity Zone starts off with a really funky ass synth lead, which sort of matches the ups and downs that you'll find yourself going through in Hydrocity Zone. second act, though, takes things to a whole new level with a reverberated sound font for the main riff that just feels massive yet dreamy. I love Hydrocity Zone's music. Genuinely one of my top 5 songs in the whole series. Marble Garden Zone, to me, stands out for being one of the more chill songs in the game. Marble Garden's theming is one of those odd ones, similar to Marble Zone in the first game. It's more zen, and that's sort of matched with these wellowing synth passages that sort of match the mountainous scenery around you. Carnival Night fucks. Carnival Night is the first of the Brad Buxer tracks that I was sort of alluding to with the whole Michael Jackson thing at the start. This beat and rhythm goes absolutely insane, using a motif of a carnival of a do 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 do, but then adding this shattering glass percussion and like it's insane. Just play the fucking clip. In the second act, Knuckles shuts out all the lights, and to sort of match that, the way that the score is interpolated changes to feel a bit more empty on some of the extra sounds that you hear. It's hard to describe, but just have a listen. Ice Cap Zone, yet again, is one of my favorite songs in the entire franchise. The first time I ever heard this song was in Sonic Scene Creator on Dan Dare, and when you make a scene on that stage, the music plays. So imagine my surprise hearing this song for the first time and just being enthralled by the crazy rhythm, the infectious melody. It was awesome, and to finally hear it once I played the game and going like, that's the song! As an adult, I love listening to breakdowns of each part of the puzzle that is that song. I think both versions of the song, Act 1 and Act 2, go equally as hard and almost match what the environment is showing. The first act starts you off barreling down the mountain on a snowboard, and the driving rhythm matches the intensity of going down a mountain. Throughout most of the stage, you are in a cave, trying to make your way through these icicle paths using more downwards momentum. So a lot of the rhythms sort of match the fast-paced nature of doing something like that. In Act 2, however, you find yourself more on the surface level. It's ice cold, mountains in the distance, water surrounding you. There's less of a focus on the percussion. You kind of get a more atmospheric tone. Without using Christmas bells or chimes, the exact synth that they chose to use for the melody matches the cold feel of Ice Cap Zone. And there's a magic in that, I think. Launch Base Zone fucks for no reason at all. In Sonic 3, it's technically the last stage and just has an insane rhythm with these vocal samples yelling go, go, go. A beat that just stops but feels so natural to just start. I'll play the fucking song, man. You just gotta hear it. There's no way to really describe it because nothing else sounds like it. And it's a damn shame how neutered it is in the Origins collection. It's like supposed to be almost like a grand march, which kind of makes more sense. It just doesn't sound as good. So, womp womp. With Brad Buxter and Michael Jackson's heavy influence on the first half of the soundtrack, with Sonic and Knuckles being released later on that year, unfortunately, with the allegations that arose with Michael Jackson, any association with Michael Jackson was removed from the second half of the game. Thus, some of the songs actually got swapped over in the second half. Songs such as the mini-boss theme and Knuckles' theme were changed. You can just have a listen and choose which one you think is a little better. The last songs that I want to touch on are the finales of each game, Big Arm and Doomsday Zone. I'm kind of just going to play them for you, but it needs to be said, in this game that has all these different tones and sonic palettes and rhythms, influences from different genres, having something that feels so massive, something that feels so imposing, is just remarkable. There are a ton of other songs that have motifs and harmonies and melodies that are so memorable, and I still sometimes play in my rotation, whether I'm streaming or just needing something to chill out and relax to. These songs will stay with me forever. And to the greater point, this game will stay with me forever. Some of my earliest memories of going over to my best friend's house, playing this game, never getting too far in it, not even knowing that Sonic 3 and Knuckles was a thing in itself, and still going back, owning it in a full boxed copy to this day is one of the greatest things that I own, and I will cherish it forever. And that's why Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles is one of 3 of my favorite Sonic games of all time. Look at that shit. Fucking locks on, dude. Fucking, I don't want to break it. It fucking locks on. I'm sure it feels a lot better in the Genesis, but hey, you know, it is what it is. Sonic 3 Knuckles, baby. This shit fucks.